Hello, my name is Michael, and I obsess. I come across something that grabs me and I consume until I can't take anymore, and then I'm on to the next. Some obsessions last a week, others a lifetime. It is my intention to explore these obsessions with you as they occur while the passion is hot. Welcome to Eclectic Obsessions. I was introduced to backmasking in my 6th grade music class. Our teacher brought in some albums and succeeded in scaring us impressionable children in the middle of a sunny school day. She was awesome. Since then, I've been fascinated by the concept and have experimented with it throughout my life. It is the recorded audio technique of backmasking we will be exploring on this episode of Eclectic Obsessions. Backmasking is a recording technique in which a sound or message is recorded backward onto a track that is meant to be played forward. Backmasking is a deliberate process, whereas a message found through phonetic reversal may be unintentional. Backmasking has been used as a recording technique since the 1960s. In the era of magnetic tape sound recording, backmasking required that the source reel-to-reel tape actually be played backwards, which was achieved by first being wound onto the original take-up reel, then reversing the reels so as to use the reel as the source. This would reverse the stereo channels as well. Digital audio recording has greatly simplified the process. Backmasked words are unintelligible noise when played forward, but when played backwards are clear speech. Listening to backmasked audio with most turntables requires disengaging the drive and rotating the album by hand in reverse, though some can play records backwards. With magnetic tape, the tape must be reversed and spliced back into the cassette. Compact discs were difficult to reverse when first introduced, but digital audio editors, which were first introduced in the late 1980s and became popular during the next decade, allow easy reversal of audio from digital sources. Backmasking was popularized by the Beatles, who used backward instrumentation on their 1966 album Revolver. Artists have since used backmasking for artistic, comedic, and satiric effect on both analog and digital recordings. The technique has also been used to censor words or phrases for clean releases of explicit songs. In 1969, rumors of a backmasked message in the Beatles' song Revolution 9 sparked the Paul is Dead urban legend. In the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, Christian groups in the United States alleged that backmasking was being used by prominent rock musicians for satanic purposes, leading to record-burning protests and proposed anti-backmasking legislation by state and federal governments. The Beatles, who incorporated the techniques of concrete into their recordings, were responsible for popularizing the concept of backmasking. Singer John Lennon and producer George Martin both claimed they discovered the backward recording technique during the recording of 1966's Revolver, specifically the album tracks Tomorrow Never Knows and I'm Only Sleeping, and the single Rain. Lennon stated that while under the influence of marijuana, he accidentally played the tapes for Rain in reverse and enjoyed the sound. The following day, he shared the results with the other Beatles, and the effect was used first in the guitar solo for Tomorrow Never Knows, and later in the coda of Rain. According to Martin, the band had been experimenting with changing the speeds of and reversing the Tomorrow Never Knows tapes, and Martin got the idea of reversing Lennon's vocals and guitar, which he did with a clip from Rain. Lennon then liked the effect and kept it. Regardless, Rain was the first song to feature a backmasked message. When the rain comes, they run and hide their heads. The last line is the reversed first verse of the song. Beatles were involved in the spread of backmasking both as a recording technique and as the center of a controversy. The latter had its roots in an event in 1969 when WKNR-FM DJ Russ Gibb received a phone call from a student at Eastern Michigan University who identified himself as Tom. The caller asked Gibb about a rumor that Beatle Paul McCartney had died and claimed that the Beatles song Revolution 9 contained a backwards message confirming the rumor. Gibb played the song backwards on his turntable and heard "Turn Me On, Dead Man, Turn Me On, Dead Man." Gibb began telling his listeners about what he called the Great Cover-Up, and to the original clue were added various others, including the alleged backmasked message, "Paul is a dead man. Miss him, miss him, miss him. In I'm so tired." The Paul is dead rumor popularized the idea of backmasking in popular music. After Gibb's show, many more songs were found to contain phrases that sounded like known spoken languages when reversed. Initially, the search was done mostly by fans of rock music, but in the late 1970s, during the rise of the Christian right in the United States, fundamentalist Christian groups began to claim that backmasked messages could bypass the conscious mind and reach the unconscious mind, where they would unknowingly be accepted by the listener. Artists who have been accused of backmasking include Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Electric Light Orchestra, Queen, Styx, Judas Priest, the Eagles, the Rolling Stones, Jefferson Starship, AC/DC, Black Oak, Arkansas, Rush, Britney Spears, and Eminem. Electric Light Orchestra was accused of hiding a backward satanic message in their 1974 album El Dorado. The title track, El Dorado, was said to contain the message, "He is the nasty one. Christ, you're infernal. It is said we're dead men. Everyone who has the mark will live." Yellow singer and songwriter Jeff Lynne responded by calling this accusation and the related charge of being devil worshippers "scallop," and stating that the message is absolutely manufactured by whoever said that that's what it said. It doesn't say anything of the sort. The group included several backward messages in later albums in response to the accusations. In 1981, Styx was accused of putting the backwards message, "Satan moved through our voices," on the song Snowblind from Paradise Theater. Guitarist James Young called these charges rubbish and responded, "If we want to make a statement, we'll do it in a way so that people can understand us and not in a way where you have to go out and buy a $400 tape player to understand us." The vinyl reproduction of Paradise Theater had laser etching on side 1, spelling out Styx at the top and two ladies facing each other on the sides. But on side 2, the side with the song Snowblind, it had a black label with a small hole cut out where you could place the eraser side of a pencil and play the album backwards to hear the backward message. In 1983, the band released a concept album, Kilroy Was Here, satirizing the moral majority. A well-known alleged message is found in rock group Led Zeppelin's 1971 song Stairway to Heaven. The backwards playing of a portion of the song purportedly results in words beginning with, "Here's to my sweet Satan." Swan Song Records issued a statement to the contrary. "Our turntables only play in one direction, forwards." Led Zeppelin vocalist Robert Plant denied the accusations in an interview. "To me it's very sad, because Stairway to Heaven was written with every best intention, and as far as reversing tapes and putting messages on the end, that's not my idea of making music." Another widely known alleged message, "It's fun to smoke marijuana," in Queen's song "Another One Bites the Dust," is similarly disclaimed by the group's spokesperson. In 1981, Christian DJ Michael Mills began stating on Christian radio programs that Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven contained hidden satanic messages that were heard by the unconscious. In early 1982, the Trinity Broadcasting Network's Paul Crouch hosted a show with self-described neuroscientist William Yarrell, who argued that rock stars were cooperating with the Church of Satan to place hidden subliminal messages on records. Allegations of demonic backmasking were also made by social psychologists, parents and critics of rock music, as well as the Parents Music Resource Center, formed in 1985, which accused Led Zeppelin of using backmasking to promote Satanism. One result of the furor was the firing of 5 radio DJs who had encouraged listeners to search for backwards messages in their record collections. A more serious consequence was legislation by the state governments of Arkansas and California. The 1983 California bill was introduced to prevent backmasking that can manipulate our behavior without our knowledge or consent and turn us into disciples of the Antichrist. Involved in the discussion on the bill was a California State Assembly Consumer Protection and Toxic Materials Committee hearing, during which Stairway to Heaven was played backwards and William Yarrell testified. The successful bill made the distribution of records with undeclared backmasking an invasion of privacy for which the distributor could be sued. The Arkansas law, passed unanimously in 1983, referenced albums by the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Electric Light Orchestra, Queen, and Styx, and mandated that records with backmasking include a warning sticker. Warning: this record contains backward masking which may be perceptible at a subliminal level when the record is played forward. However, the bill was returned to the state Senate by Governor Bill Clinton and defeated. House Resolution 6363, introduced in 1982 by Representative Bob Dornan, Republican of California, proposed mandating a similar label. The bill was referred to the Subcommittee on Commerce, Transportation, and Tourism and was never passed. Governmental action was also called for in the legislatures of Texas and Canada. In the 1973 film The Exorcist, a tape of noises from the possessed victim was discovered to contain a message when the tape was played backwards. The scene might have inspired subsequent copycat musical effects. Although this satanic backmasking controversy involved mainly classic rock songs whose authors denied any intent to promote Satanism, backmasking has been used by heavy metal bands to deliberately insert messages in their lyrics or imagery. Many bands have utilized satanic imagery for commercial reasons. For example, thrash metal band Slayer included at the start of the band's 1985 album Hell Awaits a deep backmasked voice chanting "Join Us" over and over. However, Slayer vocalist Tom Araya states that the band's use of satanic imagery was solely for effect. Cradle of Filth, another band that has employed satanic imagery, released a song entitled Dinner at Deviant's Palace, consisting almost entirely of unusual sounds and a reversed reading of the Lord's Prayer. A backwards reading of the Lord's Prayer is reportedly a major part of the Black Mass. Seattle-based grunge band Soundgarden parodied the phenomenon of satanic backmasking on their 1989 album Ultra Mega OK. When played backwards, the songs 665 and 667 reveal a song about Santa Claus. Marilyn Manson used this technique. For example, in the beginning of his song Tourniquet, when played backwards, his voice is heard saying, "This is my lowest point of vulnerability," as explained in his book The Long Hard Road Out of Hell. Backmasking is often used for aesthetics, i.e. to enhance the meaning or sound of a track. During the Judas Priest Subliminal Message trial, lead singer Rob Halford admitted to recording the words "In the Dead of the Night, Love Bites" backwards into the track Love Bites from the 1984 album Defenders of the Faith. Asked why he recorded the message, Halford stated that, "When you're composing songs, you're always looking for new ideas, new sounds." Stanley Kubrick used Masked Ball, an adaptation by Jocelyn Pook of her earlier work Backwards Priests from the album Flood, featuring reversed Romanian chanting as the background music for the masquerade ball scene in Eyes Wide Shut. One backmasking technique is to reverse an earlier part of a song. A related technique is to reverse an entire instrumental track. John Lennon originally wanted to do so with Rain, but objections by producer George Martin and bandmate Paul McCartney cut the backwards section to 30 seconds. The Stone Roses have made heavy use of this technique in songs including Don't Stop, Guernica, and Simone, which are all backwards versions of other Stone Roses tracks, sometimes overdubbed with new vocals that sound somewhat similar to the initial track when backmasked. A common use of backmasking is hiding a comedic or parodical message backwards in a song. The B-side of the 1966 Napoleon 15th single, They're Coming to Take Me Away, Haha, is a reversed version of the entire forwards record. The Beatles' song Free as a Bird was originally composed and recorded in 1977 as a home demo by John Lennon. In 1995, a studio version of the recording, incorporating contributions from Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, was released as a new single from the Beatles' anthology One Project, 25 years after their breakup and 15 years after Lennon's death. In a humorous self-parody and tribute to Lennon, the surviving Beatles inserted a backmasked clip of Lennon saying, "Turned out nice again," at the very end of the song.
Nice again.
Pink Floyd dropped a backmasked message into empty spaces. Congratulations, you've just discovered the secret message. Please send your answer to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm, Chalfont. Roger, Caroline's on the phone. Okay.
Just discovered the secret message. Please send your answer to Old Pink, care of the Funny Farm, Chalfont.
Electric Light Orchestra and Styx, following their involvement in the 1980s backmasking controversy, released songs that parody the allegations made against them. ELO, after being accused of satanic backmasking on their 1974 album El Dorado, included backmasked messages in 2 songs on their next album, 1975's Face the Music. Down Hometown begins with a female voice twice repeating, in reverse, Face the Mighty Waterfall, and the opening instrumental Fire on High contains the backmasked message, "The music is reversible, but time is not. Turn back, turn back, turn back. Turn back."
The music is reversible, but time is not. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back.
In 1983, ELO released an entire album, Secret Messages, in response to the controversy. Among the many backmasked messages on the album are, "Welcome to the Big Show. Thank you for listening. Look out, there's danger ahead. Hup 2, 3, 4. Time after time. And you're playing me backwards." Styx also released an album in response to the allegations of satanic backmasking. 1983's Kilroy Was Here, which deals with an allegorical group called the Majority for Musical Morality that outlaws rock music. A sticker on the album cover contains the message, "By order of the Majority for Musical Morality, this album contains secret backwards messages." and the song Heavy Metal Poisoning does in fact contain the backmasked Latin words Annuit coptis, novus ordo seclorum. God has favored our undertakings, a new order for the ages, part of the Great Seal which encircles the pyramid on the back of the American dollar bill. Iron Maiden's 1983 album Peace of Mind features a short backwards message included by the band in response to allegations of Satanism that were surrounding them at the time. Between the songs The Trooper and Still Life is inebriated drummer Nico McBrain doing an impression of Idi Amin Dada.
What was the thing with 3 bones? Good melody thing you won't understand.
Prince's controversial song Darling Nikki includes the backmasked message, Hello, how are you? I am fine, because I know that the Lord is coming soon. The Waitress's 1982 EP, I Could Rule the World If I Could Only Get the Parts, included a backwards masking warning on the cover and a message masked within the song, The Smartest Person I Know.
Anyone who worries about subliminal messages on pop-up is a fool. Everyone else, have a nice day.
In Weird Al Yankovic's Nature Trail to Hell from 1984's Weird Al Yankovic in 3D, Yankovic's backmasked voice declares that Satan eats cheese whiz. Some messages chastise or poke fun at the listener who is playing the song backwards. One such message was included by Weird Al in I Remember Larry from the 1986 album Bad Hair Day, on which Yankovic lightly chastises the listener with a backmasked remark, Wow, you must have an awful lot of free time on your hands. Similarly, the B-52 song Detour Through Your Mind from the 1986 LP Bouncing Off the Satellites contains the message, I buried my parakeet in the backyard. Oh no, you're playing the record backwards. Watch out, you might ruin your needle. A similar message comes from the Canadian band Frozen Ghost from their 1987 self-titled debut album. You are ruining your needle. Meanwhile, Christian rock group Petra included in their song Judas Kiss from the 1982 album More Power to You the message, What are you looking for the devil for, when you ought to be looking for the Lord?
What are you looking for the devil for, when you ought to be looking for the Lord?
Bloodhound Gang's 1996 controversy-begging track Lift Your Head Up High and Blow Your Brains Out mocked the Judas Priest controversy directly and included the backmasked phrase, Devil Child, wake up and eat Chef Boyardee beefaroni.
Wake up and eat Chef Boyardee beefaroni. Devil child, wake up and eat Chef Boyardee beefaroni. Devil child, wake up and eat Chef Boyardee beefaroni. Devil child, wake up and eat Chef Boyardee beefaroni.
Backmasking has also been used to record statements perhaps too critical or explicit to be used forwards. In Roger Waters' 1992 album Amused to Death, on which Waters recorded a backward message possibly critical of film director Stanley Kubrick, who had refused to let Waters sample a breathing sound from 2001: A Space Odyssey. The message appears in the song Perfect Sense Part 1, in which Waters' backmasked voice says, Julia, however, in light and visions of the issues of Stanley, we have changed our minds. We have decided to include a backwards message. Stanley, for you and all the other book burners. Various fundamentalist Christian groups have declared that Satan, or Satan-influenced musicians, use backmasked messages to subliminally alter behavior. Pastor Gary Greenwald claimed that subliminal messages backmasked into rock music induce listeners towards sex and drug use. Minister Jacob Aranza wrote in his 1982 book Backwards Masking Unmasked that rock groups are using backmasking to convey satanic and drug-related messages to the subconscious. Christian DJ Michael Mills argued that in 1981 that the subconscious mind is being successfully affected by the repetition of beat and lyrics, being affected through a subliminal message. Mills has toured America warning Christian parents about subliminal messages in rock music. Some Christian websites have claimed that backmasking is widely used for satanic purposes. The webpage for Alabama group Dial the Truth Ministries argues for the existence of satanic backmasking in Stairway to Heaven, saying that the song contains the backwards message, "It's my sweet Satan, oh I will sing because I live with Satan." In 1985, Joe Stussy testified to the United States Congress at the Parents Music Resource Center hearings that the message of a piece of heavy metal music may also be covert or subliminal. Sometimes subaudible tracks are mixed underneath other louder tracks. These are heard by the subconscious but not the conscious mind. Sometimes the messages are audible but are backward, called backmasking. There is disagreement among experts regarding the effectiveness of subliminals. We need more research on that. Stussy's written testimony stated that some messages are presented to the listener backwards. While listening to a normal forward message, often somewhat nonsensical, one is simultaneously being treated to a backwards message. In other words, the lyric sounds like one set of words going forward and a different set of words going backwards. Some experts believe that while the conscious mind is absorbing the forward lyric, the subconscious is working overtime to decipher the backwards message. Serial killer Richard Ramirez, on trial in 1988, stated that AC/DC's music, and specifically the song Night Prowler on Highway to Hell, inspired him to commit murder. Reverse speech advocate David John Oates claimed that Highway to Hell on the same album contains backmasked messages, including "I'm the Law," "My Name is Lucifer," and "She Belongs in Hell." AC/DC's Angus Young responded that, "You didn't need to play the album backwards because we never hid the messages. We'd call an album Highway to Hell. There it was right in front of them." In 1990, British heavy metal band Judas Priest was sued over a suicide pact made by two young men in Nevada. The lawsuit by the families claimed that the 1978 Judas Priest album Stained Class contained hidden messages, including the forward subliminal words "Do It" in the song Better by You, Better Than Me, and various backwards subliminal messages. The case was dismissed by the judge for insufficient evidence of Judas Priest's placement of subliminal messages on the record, and the judge's ruling stated that the scientific research presented does not establish that subliminal stimuli, even if perceived, may precipitate conduct of this magnitude. There exist other factors which explain the conduct of the deceased independent of the subliminal stimuli. Judas Priest members commented that if they wanted to insert subliminal commands in their music, messages leading to the deaths of their fans would be counterproductive, and they would prefer to insert the command, "Buy more of our records." Stanford University psychology professor Brian Wandel postulates that the observance of backwards messages is a mistake arising from this pattern of recognition facility, and argues that subliminal persuasion theories are bizarre and implausible. Rumors of backmasking in popular music have been described as auditory pareidolia. James Walker, president of Christian research group Watchman Fellowship, states that you could take a Christian hymn, and if you played it backwards long enough at different speeds, you could make that hymn say anything you want to. Led Zeppelin publicist B.P. Fallon concurs, saying, "Play anything backwards and you'll find something." Eric Borgos of audio reversal website TalkBackwards.com states that, mathematically, if you listen long enough, eventually you'll find a pattern. While Jeff Milner recounts, "Most people, when I show them the site, say that they're not able to hear anything until, of course, I show them the reverse lyrics." Audio engineer Evan Olcott claims that messages by artists including Queen and Led Zeppelin are coincidental phonetic reversals, in which the spoken or sung phonemes form new combinations of words when listened to backwards. Olcott states that actually engineering or planning a phonetic reversal is next to impossible, and even more difficult when trying to design it with words that fit into a song. In 1985, University of Lethbridge psychologists John Vokey and J. Don Reed conducted a study using Psalm 23 from the Bible, Queen's Another One Bites the Dust, and other sound passages made up for the experiment. Vokey and Reed concluded that if backmasking does exist, it is ineffective. Participants had trouble noticing backmasked phrases when the samples were played forwards, were unable to judge the types of messages, Christian, satanic, or commercial, and were not led to behave in a certain way as a result of being exposed to the backmasked phrases. Vokey concluded that we could find no effect of the meaning of engineered backward messages on listeners' behavior, either consciously or unconsciously. Similar results to Vokey and Reed's were obtained by D. Averill in 1982. A 1988 experiment by T. E. Moore found that no evidence that listeners were influenced consciously or unconsciously by the content of the backward messages. In 1992, an experiment found that exposure to backwards messages did not lead to significant changes in attitude. Psychology professor Mark D. Allen says that delivering subliminal messages via backward masking is totally and ridiculously impossible. The finding of backward satanic messages has been explained as caused by the observer expectancy effect. The Skeptic's Dictionary states that you probably won't hear backmasked messages until somebody first points them out to you. Perception is influenced by expectation, and expectation is affected by what others prime you for. In 1984, S. B. Thorne and P. Himmelstein found that when vague and unfamiliar stimuli are presented, test subjects are highly likely to accept suggestions, particularly when the suggestions are presented by someone with prestige and authority. Vokey and Reed concluded from their 1985 experiment that the apparent presence of backward messages in popular music is a function more of active construction on the part of the perceiver than of the existence of the messages themselves. I believe for the most part that backmasking is a thing of the past. Computer technology has taken all the technical difficulty out of it, and societal apathy and diffusion has removed its ability to cause controversy. Still, for a brief window, it was a fascinating bit of fun that has kept me obsessed for years.